Welcome back everyone, it's a very nice day in Fuchsia City and we are ready to take on the gym. Previously, there was a good range of trainers in here, but they were all very distinct. This time you'll notice that they all look the same. And there is a new gym leader as well. So, let's get to battling them, since they are obviously in disguise. Which one is the real gym leader? You might guess we will be encountering a lot of poison types in here. So Gibson will fare well, and if we have grass poison types, there will also be opportunity for torture. Interestingly, Pokemon like Hypno and Sandslash could also be found here in Red and Blue. Some bug poison types popped up as well, since in Yellow version, Koga's team was 3 Venonats and a Venomoth. And they were particularly high level too. It was actually quite a jump from Erica's Pokemon being around about level 30. Or 29 I think was... no, 32 was her highest, I believe. So indeed, quite a jump. I think you were expected to take on the regular trainers, do Silphco, and then battle the 5th and 6th gyms. Anyway, Gibson is level 51. Nice work. I'll keep him out in front for a while. As before, the invisible walls make a return. You might be able to pick them out. So we have to head along this way. And judging by the sprite, no, that is not Janine. Nice try, kid. Nidoqueen, fairly capable, but Gibson's going to take it down. And there we go, wrapped pretty easily. And if we maneuver along here, we will find that there's one random dude cross-dressing. I suppose it all works as part of the ninja facade. And a Nidoking. Just as good as a Pokemon, really. Unfortunately, not too much trouble for Gibson. You will find out a bit of a problem I have with this gym shortly. To be fair, he did actually do a pretty good job of disguising himself, but you just have to battle everyone anyway. So, fairly bulky, but Gloom shouldn't be that hard to deal with. Of course, now that I've said it, Slash won't KO it, and I'll be hit with Mega Drain or something. Nope. Does it count as good luck or bad luck if you can't call your own usual bad luck? Then again, I wouldn't exactly say I've been unlucky all throughout this. It's been strange at times, certainly. I've had some pretty bad luck when it comes to catching Pokemon, but overall there haven't been that many disasters. And Arbok. Decent Pokemon, but unfortunately doesn't stand out at a lot of stats. Looking at a lot of Pokemon actually gives me an idea for another challenge. Say, set a limit. There's a certain maximum base stat total I can't go over, and I can only use Pokemon with under or equal to that total. Say for example we set the total at 440. I can only use Pokemon with a base stat total less than or equal to. It'd be a nice challenge to try sometime. Anyway, head all the way down here, and we have the real deal. And she actually said that as well, huh? So, the big problem with Janine. Because her father is in the Elite Four, Janine's team is weaker than his. She is by far the weakest of the gym leaders in Kanto. This was changed a bit in the remakes, and of course, since you could actually rematch her, her team did get stronger in the end. Koga's team got a lot stronger too. But in all seriousness, this is a bit of a disappointment. If you've beaten the Elite Four easily, you will flatten her. As you can see, Gibson is powering through very easily. Might switch him out, and we'll actually get... No, Sunny has been in the spotlight a lot. Torch's time to shine again. I will probably have to train off screen to help Sunny catch up, but it's not like she's doing too badly. And the opposition isn't very strong anyway. I mean, level 33, we were facing Pokemon close to that level in the wild. Just over on Cycling Road. And Weezing, decent enough Pokemon, but not going to be a match for us. So a couple of Weezing. And then her last Pokemon is actually Venomoth. And I'm actually going to be putting the spotlight on Venomoth, because as it happens, I really like it, and it's also her strongest Pokemon in terms of levels. So here we go, let's have a look at Venomoth. Venomoth started out with the same problems a lot of bug poison types had, but thankfully things have actually improved a fair bit for Venomoth as the generations have gone on. It could actually use its decent special attack with some powerful psychic moves, and it's also gained much better moves, with Sludge Bomb becoming a special attack and the powerful Bug Buzz being added to its arsenal. Quiver Dance being one of its moves from Generation 5 onwards also gives it a little bit of a boost along the way. In addition, Venomoth can have the Tinted Lens ability, allowing it to do more damage to Pokemon that would otherwise resist its moves. So admittedly, while Venomoth doesn't exactly set the world on fire, it does have some pretty good tricks at its disposal, and it can be a fairly good ally if you train one well. With the much better bug types out there and some better users of Quiver Dance, unfortunately Venomoth is going to struggle to hold a spot down on most teams. However, like a lot of the Pokemon I've highlighted, if you do actually take the time to use one, you might be pleasantly surprised by what it can do. Finally, here's some interesting trivia on Venomoth. In games where Sabrina uses a Venomoth, Koga doesn't, and if Sabrina isn't using a Venomoth, Koga is. It's just a peculiar coincidence, but obviously it's a fairly popular Pokemon, so give it a try somewhere along the way, and you will enjoy using it. And now let's effortlessly dispatch Venomoth. Bad luck, buddy. Better times are ahead for you, though. And there we go. All wrapped up neatly. And we also get the TM for Toxic from her. Not too shabby. Well, you got a bit of a way to go, but then again, Koga didn't exactly have a great team either. But it would improve as time went on. It's more that poison types tend to suffer a bit. They don't get a lot of advantages. For some reason, Nurse Joy has green hair, assuming, well, just the generic Pokemon Center nurse anyway. But poison types were only super effective to one type for a very long time. They were super effective to bug types, but bug was also super effective to them, and it also gave Paras and Parasect 3 double weaknesses, so it was a bit crap. Things were changed, and poison was only strong against grass. I've maintained it should be strong against fighting because it's essentially like trying to poison a powerful warrior. You will get them. They don't have any legendary Pokemon, assuming you don't count the Ultra Beasts as legendary Pokemon. Arceus holding a Toxic Plate doesn't count either. So, who to lead off with? I think we'll keep going with Torture. And we will continue on our merry way for a bit. But yeah, really, poison types tend to get it tough, and I really do wish they had a few more perks along the way. Being lumped with grass types and bug types probably doesn't really help them, so there's an item up there we might need to cut to get. And we have a couple of kids to battle as well. Alright, 4 Pokemon, but still not very strong. Let's see, how much will Swift do, just out of curiosity? It'll take it down, no worries. Good work, Torture. And another Voltorb. A bit stronger this time. Still taken down by Swift, but I'd probably use Flame Wheel afterwards. Or Magneton, definitely fire moves here. Fairly easily done after we've just brushed aside the gym. And Torture should level up too. So let's see what the next opponent is. Magnemite. Torture can dispatch that pretty easily. I think he might have a bit of a hidden vendetta against the Magnemite line after what happened to him at the Olivine City gym. Because I really didn't expect Thunderbolt. Sorry about that. Hay fever is giving me a bit of trouble today. One of the reasons I don't like spring. Hay fever, well, that and magpies. Of course, then probably not much trouble everywhere else in the world, but this is Australia and everything is trying to kill you. Magpies are docile most of the year, but around spring, if you go anywhere near their nests, even if you don't know where they are, even if you don't know what a magpie nest looks like, they're going to try and drill a hole in the back of your head. And it is incredibly frustrating. There's a particularly crazy one that lives just outside my house and gives me a hell of a lot of grief. I think it's getting a bit better, but it is very aggressive. That said, at least they ease off. Hay fever, on the other hand, you can't really avoid. Spring also happens to be the gateway to summer, and that is my least favourite season. I much prefer autumn as it cools down, and winter. Usually early spring is nice as well because it's a bit cooler. People might be asking why I don't like summer. Well, Australian summer, that's pretty much all you need to know. If you want a specific explanation, billions of insects, plenty of lethal animals, the temperature's way too hot, and everything is on fire. That said, would be a good place for developing solar power. Plenty of sunlight. But enough off-tangent topics. We are actually meeting Apom. And I didn't encounter it because I didn't headbutt the right trees. You can also find Heracross. It seems a bit more difficult to actually find Apom and Heracross in the Generation 4 games. Or was it these ones? I'm not entirely sure. I have been able to use Heracross a couple of times, but it's still pretty tough to find. Some Pokemon are only found in forest trees, and some are only found in mountain trees. They vary based on area. So obviously Ilex Forest, for example, is going to be forest trees, but I think the ones around Route 32 and maybe up at the Lake of Rage... No, Lake of Rage is forest trees. Around Route 32 and its ilk, they're the mountain ones, so you'll find different Pokemon depending on the tree. Of course, the game doesn't really tell you these things. You just have to keep trying and figure it out for yourself. Anyway, we can move on and take out a few Pokemon with Roller. Assuming it doesn't miss. Alright, let's try that again. Maybe it's punishment for rambling so much. And another Paris, which we should dispatch pretty easily. I am getting almost tempted to fast forward these sometimes, because, as I've mentioned, it is getting really slow. And it's the big problem. Oh, Poliwhirl, just to shake it up. That it's essentially just battling a whole lot of underpowered Pokemon, taking on the occasional gym leader, and then level grinding until you can face the final challenge at Mount Silver. But nonetheless, it is still worthwhile actually showing you what it was like. At the time, this was actually very impressive. Being able to go back and visit another region was a lot of fun. It's something that hasn't been explored before. I mean, it hasn't been explored after. Being able to go back, see the area where it all started. It was really, really fun at the time. I absolutely loved it. There was a hell of a lot of content in this game. And the work of Satoru Iwata ultimately made it all possible. The game was looking ridiculously big, but the compression work he did allowed them to not only fit Johto, but Kanto in there as well. Even if it is a pared down version, it is still a lot of fun going through Kanto. Especially so in the remakes, of course. It is nice being able to travel around and see everything again. And it's nice being able to connect with the gym leaders in the remakes too. I wish they did more things like this in the Pokemon games. Because it has always seemed to me that every time Game Freak comes up with a great idea, they wind up getting rid of it. Having Pokemon follow you. It's a popular choice. They at least implemented it again in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, games that I don't necessarily like, but if I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily hate either, because I understand their purpose and know that they're not targeting me, so I can let bygones be bygones and all that. Having the Pokemon follow you in Heart Gold and Soul Silver was fantastic. It sort of built on what Pikachu did in Yellow, walking with Pokemon in Amity Square, and a lot of people would have liked having it because it sort of increases the connection you have with your Pokemon. That they actually are there as your friends. Unfortunately, that disappeared. DexNav in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, probably the best feature in the entire game. Removed. And it kind of baffles me. There are so many irritating little things that take forever to get fixed up, that just get left in there. It took them absolutely ages, for example, to realise that people might want to keep using repels. Some people joke that the ability to use repels without going into the bag, when one wore out in Generation 5, was worth a couple of extra points when giving the game its critic score. There have been some good quality of life adaptations. The technology has improved over time, but overall, they do have a really, really bad tendency to cut out not necessarily what works per se, but things that just improve quality of life. For example, Versus Seeker, rematching gym leaders, the Battle Frontier. I still haven't forgiven them for the crap with the Battle Frontier in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and probably won't. Because, okay, I'm not a competitive battler. I can't really train Pokemon to competitive levels. I don't have the patience, but it was still a lot of fun taking on all the different challenges for the Battle Frontier. And interestingly enough, they even managed to incorporate natures into the Battle Frontier with the Spencer and the Battle Palace. Pokemon would behave differently based on their nature, and you had to structure their moves better based on what their nature was. That was a really intelligent idea. It's actually very creative, and I really wish they brought things like that back. I admit I didn't play it as much because I didn't understand it at the time. It really is a case of you don't know what you've got until it's gone. But some other things you definitely do know that they are worth keeping. And they don't do that, and it annoys me so much. Anyway, let's see where we are. We're on Route 14. Let's just check again. So that was Route 15 we were just on. We've made it to Route 14, and I think it's actually a good spot to wrap things up. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next installment of our scenic tour through the Kanto region when we continue our trip.